Amara opened the door and found the dorm matron standing there. She asked if the owner of the dorm was around, and Amara, smiling, told her she wasn't, that she had been waiting for her. The matron explained that she only wanted to spray a pest spray, that Momo had complained before the semester break about cockroaches troubling her. Amara opened the door wider and told her to go ahead, reaching for her things to leave, but the matron stopped her, saying the spray was odorless, not harmful, and she didn't need to leave. Amara, hearing this, decided to stay, settling back on the bed as the matron moved through the room, spraying the pesticide carefully. When she was done, she thanked Amara for letting her in and walked out. Amara returned to her research paper, the words and diagrams blurring slightly before her eyes, a heaviness pulling at her eyelids. She tried to stand, but the room tilted, the floor spinning, and she collapsed back onto the bed unconscious. Moments later, the door opened again, and the matron stepped in, moving slowly, deliberately, inspecting her to make sure she had truly passed out before taking out her phone and reporting to Yan that the task was accomplished. A few minutes later, Yan walked in, her eyes scanning Amara critically, then turning to the matron, commending her for a job well done. She mentioned that the rest of the payment would be made, and all that was left was to carry her to the car. The matron nodded, smiling, noting that it was fortunate most students hadn't returned from the semester break, minimizing the risk of witnesses. Jan leaned closer, snatching the digital wristband from Amara's hand and her necklace, and together with the matron, carried her out of the dorm, moving efficiently. Meanwhile, back at East Gate University, Leeway stepped outside, the document from his uncle clutched tightly in his hand, facing the protesters who erupted in chants as soon as they saw him. They cheered his name, and he paused, letting their voices wash over him, observing them silently before speaking, telling them that he was touched by their support, by the love and faith they had shown him. Inside, his uncle and Fang watched, expecting him to follow the speech they had prepared to calm the chaos. Leeway looked down at the document, then back at the crowd, their eyes fixed on him, waiting. He told them that they had tried to manipulate him, to write his words for him, and that they were foolish to think he would comply. He tore the paper into pieces, letting the fragments fall, and the crowd erupted in cheers. Inside, his uncle froze. Disbelief etched across his face, unable to comprehend that Leeway had broken his promise. Leeway raised his voice to the crowd, declaring that today they would fight until he was given what was rightfully his, that they would not leave until the handover was complete. If they did not comply, the protests would continue. East Gate Group would stop functioning until the right thing was done. He spoke of his father, who had built the company from scratch, struggled to create East Gate Group, only to see it taken away, destroyed along with its legacy. East Gate Group had once been a company that helped those in need, that hired based on talent, not connections, that gave hope to countless people, all of which had been stolen, and it must be restored. The only way to restore it, he declared, was for the current president to step down and hand the position to him, the rightful heir, the only person capable of continuing his father's legacy. The crowd roared, and Master Shen, hidden among them, allowed a small smile to tug at his lips. He thought back to the small boy he had met 10 years ago, scared and broken, and marveled at the man now standing before them. Pride welled up in him as he saw his student putting into action everything he had taught him. He knew he had done a great job, and that Leeway's father would be looking down, smiling at the courage and determination his son had shown in fighting to reclaim and revive his legacy. Meanwhile, Leeway's uncle's frustration and stress had escalated. He rushed back to his office, struggling to walk and barely able to breathe, his vision blurring as Fang hurried after him. Fang entered the office to find him throwing papers and objects around, and he stood there, telling him to calm down. Moving closer, Fang reminded him that if only he had listened from the beginning, if only he had not trusted Leeway, None of this would be happening, and they could have taken safety precautions the moment Leeway had landed in China. His father sank back into his chair, defeated, his body weak, his mind racing. He admitted that he had underestimated Leeway, that he had never thought him capable enough, and that was why he had not prepared for any precautions. He had seen Leeway as an ant he could crush, little realizing that he had been harboring a venomous snake that was now biting him. Fang moved closer, his voice sharp, reminding him that one word from him could end Leeway right there. He could walk out and shoot him, and it would not matter if he went to jail, as long as East Gate Group did not end up in Leeway's hands. He added that he was willing to sacrifice himself for the task, and that his father only needed to give the instruction. His father looked at him, asking if he was sure. Fang confirmed that he was, insisting that if he carried it out, they could create a story claiming that he and Leeway had always been enemies, that it had nothing to do with them personally, and that they could always find a way to take back East Gate Group later. His father remained silent, his eyes fixed on Fang, and before he could respond, his cell phone rang. Seeing the name on the screen, he immediately stood. A commanding, firm voice came from the other side, accusing him of failing to run East Gate Group as agreed. Leeway's uncle trembled, the man on the line calling him out for trusting and underestimating Leeway. The man scolded him for being foolish enough to think he could trust a boy who had lost everything, whose family had been destroyed. He should have known from the start that Leeway was not back to play the nice nephew, but to reclaim what was rightfully his. Leeway's uncle, still trembling, argued that he would try to find a solution, that he would not let Leeway take East Gate Group so easily. The man shouted, demanding to know how exactly he planned to stop him. The damage was done, protests were spreading from Shanghai to other cities, government officials would soon get involved, and everything they had done might be exposed. He warned that if Leeway's uncle did not step down and hand over the company, things would get even worse. Leeway's uncle's heart almost stopped at the words. He insisted that he could not simply give up, that he could not hand over what he had spent a decade controlling. The man explained that this was the only solution, that Leeway would remain in the company only as a president, with no real power, like a puppet. The call ended, leaving him frozen, the phone still in his hand. He realized he had lost his position, the position he had sacrificed blood and effort to gain, the risks he had taken, all unraveling in an instant. Outside, Leeway waited, the crowd tense and expectant. After a few moments, his uncle emerged, accompanied by Fang. He locked eyes with Leeway and admitted that if he had known he was dealing with a snake from the beginning, he would have killed him. Leeway's lips curved in a brief, dark laugh, his eyes sharp and dangerous as he told his uncle that it would have been foolish to think he would watch quietly as everything his father built was destroyed. Leaning in slightly, his voice icy, he warned that he was far from finished and that he would come for everyone responsible for his family's destruction. If he were his uncle, he would flee while he still had a chance. Leeway's uncle's heart tightened, watching him, as he turned to the crowd and told them that he had heard their pleas and cries. He admitted that he would hand the company over to Leeway that very same day, ensuring the transfer would be witnessed by all. The crowd erupted in cheers. Leeway stood silently, his mind sharp, a surge of satisfaction and relief flooding him. One major mission task was complete, one step closer to uncovering the mastermind behind his family's death and bringing justice to all involved. His cell phone beeped, breaking his focus. He opened the message from Yan, freezing at the sight of Amara, unconscious, helpless, with a countdown ticking. The message read, "Time is ticking. Come save her or she dies." Leeway stood there. The phone clutched so tight his knuckles went white, and read the message again. The picture of Amara, unconscious, pale, stared back at him, the caption burning into his mind. Time is ticking. Come save her or she dies. He spun to leave, then froze. He couldn't just walk away. The handover was imminent. He had to secure East Gate Group first, one step closer to the man who'd ordered his family killed. But he couldn't ignore Amara bleeding out somewhere because of him. The choice ripped at him from both sides. He dialed Yan without thinking, pacing toward a shadowed corner as his heart hammered. The line clicked. Yan's voice came through smooth and cold. She told him he'd better get there, that every second he wasted drained more life from Amara. Fury simmered under Leeway's calm. If he found a single scratch on her, he told Yan, he would bury her alive and never forgive her. Yan laughed, the sound like ice, and said his threats were wasting time. He must come alone. If he brought anyone, she'd kill Amara and herself. Both would die, and she would die happy, knowing they both can't have him. She said she was sending the location and that he had 10 minutes. Then she hung up. For a beat, Leeway stood with the phone pressed to his ear, the world narrowing to the image of Amara and the countdown in his head. He rushed inside to his uncle's office, storming in before introductions could be made. He asked him what was taking so long and that all that needs to be signed are documents. His uncle peered at him, composed but firm. The legal handover needed paperwork prepared properly. A board meeting had to be held. Members were still coming. Leeway's heart tightened. He glanced at his watch. 10 minutes ticked like a metronome in his chest. Every second wasted might be the difference between life and death. He tried to force a solution, to think of some way to speed the procedure. The adrenaline that had been coiled in him uncoiled into motion instead. He couldn't stay. He couldn't let a boardroom procedure cost her life. Amara was everything to him. His home, the one pulse that steadied the chaos inside him. And the thought of losing her made the air thin. Without waiting for permission, he turned on his heel and bolted out. Each step toward his car felt like the only sane thing in a world gone mad. He told himself he would be back for the handover. He promised himself he would not let the mission slip. Right now, there was only one priority: get to Amara before time ran out.